Hi, you're listening to the podcast The Power of Influence, and my name is Arnolds Janis Krauklis. This is the 7th episode of Season 2, and today I'm going to talk about something that applies to all of us, an addiction. That doesn't feel like an addiction, and that addiction is about dopamine, about why we get stuck in a life we don't love and why it's so damn hard to get out of it. This will be an honest, challenging, and perhaps even very thought-provoking conversation. Well, so it's time to start.
Hello, dear listeners.
And to be honest, there was a social experiment going on right now called Addict. And it's not on purpose, although on the other hand, it might be on purpose to make you think not to judge a book by its title, but to distinguish between the sides of the page and also to read it from cover to cover. I don't remember where it was, but it was a very beautiful account of the percentages people have when making assumptions about something. Most people just look at the headlines, even let's say read headlines on news portals, and then they already have an opinion in their head. Yes, this one did this one did that. I'm not inside it, but something like that. Then there is a percentage who read the beginning and the end, and then an opinion appears, and there are only a small percentage of those who read the title, read it from cover to cover, and then express an opinion and still don't make assumptions. But whatever, a drug addict sounds crazy. It's not. Today, I'm not going to talk about some kind of heroin drug, about drugs as such, but I'm going to talk about something else where we are all actually drug addicts.
And we are drug addicts. What is a drug addict?
Addicted to something, addicted to some substance, addicted to an addictive substance.
And today, I'm going to talk about dopamine.
And in fact, the mechanism of action of all the most addictive drugs, such as cocaine or ecstasy, is that a person's dopamine levels spike as much as, well, only drugs can give. And that's why. Drugs are so addictive because dopamine in general, is a hormone that is a motivation hormone, causes good feelings. Music, a reward hormone. Yes, and we all have one and we all get it. We all like it and we all get paid. And in this podcast, yes, I'll talk about that too. There is dopamine, which we can easily get by picking up our phone, scrolling a bit, and getting a quick dopamine boost, or by watching porn, or by eating fast food, or something else that gives us an immediate dopamine boost.
But again, in the long run, M does not bring much benefit.
I think quite a few of them are also very, I can't say when everything in my life is 100% resolved, but I have resolved a lot of things. I have caught up on a lot of things. This is the thing that I do just to get immediate pleasure, immediate dopamine, but it doesn't give me pleasure in the long run, whether it's a relationship or it's the same job, various other activities that I think everyone has in life. And I put together a few points for this podcast to go inside and discuss this topic in a cool way. First, I will try not to talk too long, out of respect for your precious time. And the second point I wrote down is that we have a job, and it's a job we want. And it's a job we've sometimes fallen into. Maybe it's by chance that we ended up in that job.
Well, it takes work. We all need a job.
We all need income. We all need to support ourselves. I'm not saying anything bad about it.
I'm just trying to show perspective.
Then there's work. And I don't know many people who, well, lately I've been meeting more and more people who really do the work of their heart, the work of their soul. But often there are people who are simply forced by life circumstances to do what they don't want to do. And yes, this job came about either by chance or because circumstances forced us, or we chose this job, this profession with a consciousness that is already quite old. By that I mean, for example, at 16 I'd say I will be an architect, and I formed my strong belief from the age of 16 that I would be an architect, and I've lived like that my whole life, and I'm an architect. But perhaps at 16 years old, when I made that decision, I didn't understand everything yet. I didn't really understand what the profession of architecture meant, what it meant to work for it, what it was like to do it every day. I didn't know that, and in my opinion, quite a lot. And it's dangerous to choose a profession at such an immature age and adopt it for yourself and live your whole life in it. I'm not saying that many people aren't really lucky to have someone who has found a profession at the age of 16 and lives their entire life in that profession and is happy. Perhaps such people are also very successful and happy, but I know that there are also those who have made that decision and are going purposefully, even though they themselves understand when it's not really the right thing to do. Yes, I'm speaking of this, and then there is that other work, which is the work of our heart, which is the work of our soul, which gives us such great satisfaction when we could do that work for free when we feel fulfilled, that we get up and want to do it. And when you go to bed, it's like, well, wait, you want to watch cartoons for another 5 minutes, just like when you were a child. Then it's the work of the soul, the work of the heart, where you want to do it and you can't stop. Of course, it's healthy. And this work of the soul, it's work that you don't get tired of doing, something that's more like a hobby. I remembered there is such a person as Ravance, and he also writes about him and his heart's work. And he writes, like this, when this work of my soul, what I do, is like a hobby to me and is very easy, but again, to another person, it will look like work, hard work. And the thing is, we are all completely different, with different experiences, different families, different opinions, different external influences. Zrenia's interests, different dreams, and we each have a unique job. And I believe that everyone has unique talents and that everyone can develop and go into that work and shine and simply be the best in that field. And here is one word for ikigai. Ikigai is a Japanese concept consisting of 4 units, also called work. And as I said before, it's a work of the soul, a work of the heart. Ikigai roughly marks it. Ikigai then has 4 such circles. So Ikigai is actually a really great book about longevity. I recommend reading it if you haven't. I really liked it. So Ikigai, I'll show you something like this. You can pause, and then the first circle is what you love to do. The second circle, the world needs. The third circle, for which you can get paid. And the fourth lap, you get. And there are so many things that you like to do. There are a lot of things you could get paid for. There are so many things the world needs, but what exactly is it for you, the one that fits in the middle? And I think life gives us opportunities to find that middle ground. And I believe that everyone can find it if they continue, if they go, if they try. One thing, another, a third, exploring what works, what doesn't. And of course, this book is a great help as you can find it. Then further, problem. Why then isn't that dream job found or done? Why do we choose? We often choose the usual job, the one that, well, happens to be. There is such a thing as comfort. And comfort is, for example, the job is, well, paid there, 5 days a week. You have to go there and spend about 8 hours a day just sitting around or doing something you do and want to do. And then there's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday where you can relax from everything. And we endure for 5 days on Friday. And Saturday we rest and forget about our problems. We go to work on Monday and again, oh, stupid work, we don't want to. But there is a reward, we can survive. And it's, well, just, okay, no, it's not what I really want, but, well, it's not that bad. And they are traps. And that's why so many people stay in this job, because it's not that crazy. And when will all this change? This will all change. Everyone has to get to the point where everyone can see their life, 5 days of work, holidays, on vacation, that this life is more painful than starting to get up early in the morning and work to achieve a dream. The saying goes that when the pain of staying in the same place is greater than the pain of discipline, at that moment change will happen. And it truly is. And if a person is not getting better, not changing, they are not in a place where their current situation is. So painful. I really like the example with the dentist, that at that moment when our tooth really hurts, Zrania is some kind of canal inflammation. I'm not a dentist. Canal inflammation, which hurts terribly, and that it is an emergency, and we need to go to my dentist immediately. Address at that point, we will leave and 100% arrive. But if there is a filling or something else that needs to be done that doesn't hurt, we probably won't come. We will forget because it is not that important. And I don't remember where there were statistics. Where? 100% came or 99% came when there were inflamed root canals in the tooth that hurt terribly. And then there's about 70% where there's sealing. And it's exactly the same with work and with your dream job. At that moment when staying at work will be like having a sinus infection that will hurt terribly. We will have everything, right? And at that moment, we will start doing and moving. And there's another very dangerous point, that we start lying to ourselves, that we start rationalizing and telling ourselves that this ordinary job is actually our dream job. And I'm not blaming anyone, but I was recently at a seminar where they also told me something about why we people have research on paintings. A person is shown 5 paintings, and the person is told to number from 1 to 5 which one you like the most and which one you like the least. And he counts. He, well, likes the first one the most, then the second, third, fourth, fifth. He is given one painting. He is given a third. He picks her up, he takes her home, and 2 weeks later she meets him. And the person who has the painting at home, he says, actually, this painting was my favorite. I laugh because it's quite funny as a person, because to protect yourself, you make up complete fairy tales and say, no, actually, that painting was my favorite, just like with work. And that's it. I laugh. But at the same time, it's very sad that a person who has been, let's say, 4 years in one job, he started to think that, oh, that's why I've been here for 4 years, just because I like it. And he also believes in you, yes, this job makes me happy. Rationalize to protect yourself. Not that a person will admit, oh my God, I've wasted 4 years doing what I don't like in a job I don't want to do. Even at the same time, every day I go to work, oh my God, how I don't want to work. I already mentioned the fourth point earlier, how I started moving. And I actually quite, yeah, well, it was hard for me to start, hard to go towards the work that I love to do, and hard, yeah, to go there. There was resistance, there was laziness, there was fear. Everything was something, but the main idea behind why I'm going there, and I'm already there with one foot or with both, is that a vision appeared in my head that I could see myself 10 years later. Where will I be 10 years later if I do nothing? I will be in the same place. And it was very painful. And I don't want to be in the same place for 10 years. And then in a slow spirit, one marches and has marched and goes to the dream job. And I mentioned earlier about when the pain of staying the same has to be greater than the pain of discipline. And so it is. And in my case, it was also like that when I started. Simply by getting up at 5 a.m., everything. I read that the most successful people wake up early, the most successful people work on themselves, the most successful people control themselves, the most successful people do. They don't care what's going on around them, but they don't let the factors around them affect them. This means that if he leaves, if someone goes to work and is faced with a person who is very annoyed, who is angry, I receive anger, but I don't respond with anger. I control my response. We cannot control who the other person is, because the other person, for example, can wake up in the morning, get out of bed with their left foot, slip in the bathroom while washing, or crash the car. A dog bites someone, splashes water on you, someone says something, and he builds up anger. And then when he comes and talks to you, he takes all this anger out on you. And there's a lot of, I don't know, emotional intelligence that if someone takes out their anger on me, I understand that it's not about me. First, understand that the person is angry throughout the day. And that anger I just happen to have, a component placement that I would accumulate that anger and that I would receive that anger. Yes, actually, if you want to go to that job, there is one thing that is really early in the morning, which is a very powerful first step to achieving more from life. But this episode was called Addict, and I was talking about some kind of job or dream job, and in that vein, and I mentioned dopamine, but I haven't really gotten to dopamine. And then dopamine is the feel good reward hormone. It releases dopamine to us, and we train ourselves to repeat the action that resulted in the dopamine. Cardio work, for example, required getting up at kale indumani, and that's hard. And I don't wake up at 5 a.m. with sunshine and a smile and everything being fine. No, it's not. You have to push yourself a little. You have to constantly remind yourself, I'm going there. I don't want to stay there. There are a lot of mechanisms for how and what to do, but there is no immediate pleasure. For example, I have one dream about physical development. When I was, I don't know, 16 years old, I had this idea that when I am 21, I'll have a cool six pack and cool muscles and so on. But when I was 21, I didn't have it. And then I thought, how can I not? Oh, I have to practice to be like that. And I've been missing about 3 weeks of every day for a year now, more than a year, because I had some trips. I was sick, but I've been to the gym every day. And change is slow in coming. And I believe that in 10 years, I will have the body I want to have. And here's the trick: dopamine won't be immediate. There won't be an immediate result. We can go to the gym, train, come home one day. We won't have lost weight. We won't have built muscle. But if we do it consistently for months, years, we will see results. And I think that's why many people give up. They don't see the immediate results of the game, because as soon as we pick up our phone, scroll through it, dopamine immediately spikes. Or we go to the mall, eat, and immediately our dopamine spikes. We watch porn, and the dopamine spikes immediately instead of beating around the bush and preparing for a long term relationship. And then to get to your dream job, you have to take these steps where we don't get dopamine right away. But, and I believe that this is the only path to true fulfillment. We can lie to ourselves and say, no, this is not the job I chose or the life I have. This is how it is. And rationalize, or be honest with yourself and go for it and do the hard things. Do it. Don't see the results right away, but do it and believe that in time there will be that result, and that will be all. And here we can also talk about the process and the result. that the result is not really the most important thing as the process when we do it. And here's very interesting. Throughout our lives, let's say at this moment, when you're listening, you've trained yourself with specific actions where you'll get dopamine. For example, if you've spent 10 minutes on your phone every day for the last 3 months watching videos that make you feel better, then your brain knows that you'll pick up your phone, look at it for 10 minutes, and your dopamine will be high. It will be an action that you will have trained yourself to repeat more. And that's the case with everything, really. And what is our task there? Are those easy actions and the hard ones, like getting up at 5 a.m., going to a workout, reading a book, watching an educational video, or doing something that will really get us closer to the job we want to be in. And that's instant gratification. What do we have to do? We have to fool ourselves and train our entire body and our entire brain to think that the moment we do the hard thing, we will immediately get a dopamine release. And it can be done. And I will immediately get to the ways in which this can be done. I hope the idea is clear. Because as an example, I'm sitting here and I hear someone knocking on the door. If I think there's someone out there who's going to hit me, when someone hits me, I won't get a dopamine release. I will be sad. I won't want to go and open the door. But if I'm sitting here and someone knocks and I think there's someone there who gave me $1 million, I'll run, go to the door and open it, and because I know when I get $1 million, I'll get a dopamine release. The trick here is to fool and train yourself and do activities that are difficult and get the dopamine up. Because if we force ourselves all the time, go to that door and think when someone knocks, it's acceptance and forcing, and it collapses. I don't know any person who has willpower, but the power of receiving, who has achieved anything with the power of receiving. I've tried it, and at some point the reception just breaks, collapses. But on the other hand, if your essence is trained and transformed so that it is easy, it really remains easy, and the very beginning is truly the hardest. When we transform ourselves, that we are basically creating a new identity for ourselves. Identity is who we are, what we believe, who we are. And to change it, you have to go against yourself. It's difficult. It's simple. It's about like deep snow, like we walk through deep snow towards ourselves for the first time, but I think that's the only way to achieve something, from starting with the core and changing the SDI and all the external actions we do. It will come by itself. And the external, I think, everything, recognition, income level, joy, happiness, everything, those will be the results. Those will be the byproducts of the changes that we've made inside us. So we've come to 4 mechanisms by which we can train ourselves. And I'm used to saying fool ourselves, but it's like fooling ourselves. South, how do we make those actions easy, not using the receiving, but our brains with joy, and we with joy and ease go and do the things we need to do to get where we want to go? The first mechanism is the perception of work as a game. We are humans. We like challenges. We like games. We like a task. We like to complete a task and complete a task. For example, are there levels? We like to complete levels. I don't know what the task is for each job, but here is one example. My dream job is X, and in order for me to achieve it, there are a lot of things I have to do, of course, but one of those things is sending emails. And on my list, yes, that's another point. On my list, instead of writing a task, I have to send 10 emails, but write how many emails I can send in 30 minutes. I actually find this interesting, just saying, maybe someone is making a video, maybe someone is calling people. How many videos could I make in 3 hours? Zarenia, how many people could I call in 2 hours? Ask and turn this around. And when we relate to it this way, we already have motivation, we have the will to do it. Not that I'll have to send those emails again, and I don't want to do that, but I want to make it more interesting. The next is a very important point. We need to add rewards when we accomplish something, no matter how small. First, I actually talked about this with a colleague this morning, and I implemented it today. For every small action that is done in the head, you have to say, I am a nerd. You're doing well. Very good. Piglet, congratulations. Great. Different words that encourage yourself. And maybe at first it may seem difficult and unusual, but over time, this way you can teach your body to know that doing that thing will feel good, and in that way, like, train yourself to do more of that thing. For example, today I was in the pool, and after the pool, I simply congratulated myself and said that when you're done, you're doing yourself a favor. You're doing your family a favor, because with the pool, you prolong your life and you take care of your health and give the best version of yourself to the people you love and who love you. You are lazy. And in this way, I receive joy and gratitude from myself. And that also makes me want to Go to the pool every now and then. Cheers again. You can jump. You can say, yes, I did it. 15 seconds for each small task is enough. No matter who it is, if it is at least necessary to receive it, small words of gratitude are rewarded. Maybe. Candy, maybe chocolate. In general, eating. Dark chocolate also releases dopamine. That is also one. Let's say if you haven't read say 10. I'll read for 10 minutes and I'll have chocolate. Read for 10 minutes, even 5, and eat some chocolate. Train your body to understand when, oh, I'll read, and then there'll be chocolate. Chocolate is actually a very quick way to change yourself to do things that you don't want to do at first, but that you know are necessary to achieve the life you want to live. Third point, visualize. Visualize the life you want to be in, the work you want to be in. Why are you doing this? Where do you want to go? And the most important thing here is to feel the emotions. Feel the emotions, and usually the emotions would be joy, satisfaction, happiness, fulfillment, gratitude, sincerity, fulfillment. And at the moment when we feel those emotions, each emotion is a frequency. And in everything that happens around us, we attract how we feel. And gratitude is the most powerful emotion with which it is very desirable to live and with which we can achieve the work that we love very much. Мы зрение, что мы действительно хотим сделать. By that I mean it's gratitude. I am grateful for what I have, but at the same time I work to have more. If I create and live in such a way that I don't have this, I need more, then I will be grateful. I train my body and my mind to feel the lack in this moment, and in the best case scenario, when we get the thing we want so much, we are unable to enjoy it because we have trained ourselves for a long time to feel the lack of it in the present moment. I don't have it yet, I need it, then I will be grateful. And then when I have it, I don't know how to feel grateful. And then I am again the wonderful person in awe, I will say so. And the moment a person gets one thing and he thinks, I'm not happy, I'm not fulfilled, instead of starting to feel fulfilled, a person thinks, I need more, I need to achieve that next thing, I need to do this. And there are people who live their whole lives hoping that the next goal will be the one that will make them fulfilled. And they are also like such a huge trap. And there's a trick here. And the moment a person finally understands this enormous cycle, an enormous game, and the moment we appreciate what we have, we simply have more. And I believe in a higher power. I don't know what you call it, but religions call it God, sciences call it energy, others call it the universe, light creators, whatever. But the force that created everything, I believe he feels how you live. And why should I give you more if you do? Not appreciate what you have, and I don't want to. And I believe that power does that too. But in that second case, if you start to appreciate what you have, you appreciate, I see that you can be given more. You'll have more, please, because I know you appreciate it. Maybe I'm wrong too, but this is one thing I believe in, and that has taught me a lot in my life, that when I don't appreciate what I have, Zrania, it is taken away from me. Is that a person? 2 years ago, it was rights, health, various things. But at that moment, when I evaluate, opportunities appear to me as something else appears to me that I have wanted for a very long time. Or yes, opportunities arise. The fourth point is to catch those moments, which I mean to catch when, of course, everything will not be as smooth as butter, and in that spirit, there will be those moments when it will be difficult, and you will have to push yourself a little when those thoughts appear. I have to do this. Don't fight them. When we fight, we are somehow resisting what is, and we resist. If we resist ourselves because we have trained ourselves to have that moment. I have to make videos. I have to send emails. Everything, all the previous past events, actions, basically mental training has created what it is. Now that you have this feeling, it's the body's reaction. The body thinks, I won't get dopamine by doing that. Knowing this, okay, you think when you've trained yourself, when I don't get dopamine, I don't want to do it. Let's breathe in, breathe out, then go do it. The rule of 5 is so simple. We can count to 5 and go do it, and use the aforementioned award work as a game or visualization of the future. Catch those positive emotions and then go do it. But the main thing is not to resist thoughts that are easy to perceive. Okay, they are there, and let go and start thinking about something else. And there's a lot of talk about motivation, when motivation is very important, and I'm just going to sit here and wait for the motivation to come and then I'm going to go do that thing. It is not. Motivation arises when we start doing, and at least that's how it has been for me. And the people I'm in contact with also have it like that. Зрение, когда мы не имеем started doing it yet, we don't want to, but then we somehow manage ourselves so that we go do it, and after a minute or two, motivation has appeared. И зрение and we go inside. And here's another point I want to make to you, that mental work is about the same as physical work. If someone has been exercising before any athletic activity, we need to stretch our muscles, warm up so that we don't get any injuries or strains. The same thing happens with the mind. We need to warm up our minds before we go and actually do anything. And it can be done very simply. For example, if you need to study or just sit at the computer and do something, what can be done? 6 minutes is just, yes, reading it. That 6 minutes is the amount of time we're going to take, how much is needed to warm up the mind for 6 minutes. We just have to look at the screen and train our focus on the screen, and that's it. We can do nothing but just watch for 6 minutes. The brain begins to train itself. Okay, I need to focus on this screen, and that's it. I'm not going to talk about such primitive things as picking up the phone and putting it in another room. This seems obvious to me. Maybe it's not, but it's also a very good method. Just put your phone away and turn off notifications, and you probably won't miss anything important. Those were 4 or 5 mechanisms for training yourself for doing what needs to be done. I hope it was valuable, and I'm not perfect either, and I make mistakes too. And actually, speaking of this, I'm learning myself, and I think that's okay. And I'm as far as I am, and I want to give it to you. I hope it's useful and that you will use this. And yes, I hope this episode gave a greater understanding of how we work, what we really are, what kind of dopamine addicts we are. And maybe you're like me, a dopamine addict, and you probably are, if I think everyone is. And I hope this podcast gave us something that we can turn it to our advantage and not falling into the trap of getting an instant short term dopamine gratification, but retraining our being to think and live as actions that will give us long term dopamine fulfillment. Okay? My name is Arnolds Janis, Krauklis, and this was the 7th episode of the Power of Influence podcast, season 2, and peace music.